Until recently, the state of Massachusetts had been promoting electricity generation from forest biomass as a means of reducing its greenhouse gas emissions. However, in June 2010, the Manomet Center for Conservation Sciences released a study that prompted the Massachusetts government to halt its approval of several new biomass electricity projects in the state. The study included a life cycle assessment, or LCA, of the greenhouse gas emissions associated with biomass energy. We'll take a closer look at the Manomet study, as well as Massachusetts' response, to explore how LCA informs biomass policy. LCA has played an important role in defining the carbon impacts of renewable energy sources. LCA examines a process from cradle to grave, looking at impacts, such as greenhouse gas emissions, at all points in the lifespan of a product or process. LCA is particularly important for addressing the impacts of biomass energy. Biomass has been traditionally viewed as a carbon-neutral resource because, from a life cycle perspective, the emissions produced by its combustion can be offset by replanting. The Manomet study calculated the time it would take for the carbon sequestered in new plant growth to offset the increased emissions and defined the value as carbon debt payoff. The study argued that the carbon debt payoff depended on the type of biomass feedstock used, the process used to convert it to energy, and the fossil fuel technology being replaced. The results showed that the typical types of biomass projects being proposed in Massachusetts had carbon debt payoffs too large to meet the state's emission reduction targets. So Massachusetts proposed stricter eligibility requirements for biomass projects receiving state renewable energy credits. Massachusetts chose to promote the feedstocks and conversion technologies that, according to the Manomet LCA, had the biggest impact on reductions. For example, whole trees would not be eligible, but forest residue would. The Manomet study was designed to address the sustainability and emissions issues associated with biomass electricity under particular local circumstances. This example demonstrates the usefulness of government-commissioned LCAs that can use assumptions specific to the policy question to develop optimal strategies for biomass energy. These strategies, however, should be determined at a local level. Regional variation in resource availability and energy generation require that local assumptions be considered when using LCA to develop policy. The authors of the Manomet study warn that the study's results are not generalizable beyond Massachusetts. Analyses similar to the Manomet studies should be repeated in other states interested in developing sound biomass policy. While LCA can be used to estimate impacts such as greenhouse gas emissions, it does not determine society and government's goals for these impacts. Massachusetts used the Manomet study to develop policy that would move toward near-term emission reduction. However, biomass energy may still contribute to broader goals, which include long-term climate change mitigation, reduced dependence on fossil fuels, and incentivizing the development of a low-carbon energy industry. A goal of near-term reductions may be less relevant outside Massachusetts, especially in states that are not participating in greenhouse gas reduction efforts. For this reason, Massachusetts' response to the LCA results may not be universally appropriate. LCA has a valuable role in ensuring that goals for biomass energy are met. However, LCA is only one of several factors involved in carbon policy development. In this case, the politics surrounding biomass-based energy in Massachusetts has been largely affected by public opinion. The Manomet study was originally commissioned because of concerns expressed by state citizens and environmental organizations about greenhouse gas emissions and other environmental consequences of burning biomass for energy. Interpretations of LCAs by the media have the potential to affect public opinion about the desirability of promoting biomass-based heat and power. Science reporting often simplifies scientific results, and LCA of biomass-based electricity is vulnerable to this problem. While some media outlets argued that the Manomet results condemn biomass energy, advocates of biomass-based electricity interpreted the results in a different light. The Manomet's conclusions about carbon debt payoff do not in and of themselves dictate a policy solution. They have been used to promote special interests. In response to the media's representation of the study's conclusions, the authors released a statement clarifying what they consider oversimplification of the results. Manomet has made a public effort to ensure that the results are interpreted as intended by the authors. Its efforts illustrate the important role of scientists in educating the public. LCA is needed to determine locally optimal strategies to meet goals for biomass energy. However, LCA will not be the only factor influencing the development of biomass policy, though its results may also be used to support positions more heavily influenced by other environmental, business, or political concerns. For this reason, LCA also plays a role in the broader political aspects of biomass policy development. Scientists and relevant experts should use this role to encourage accurate understanding of LCA results and feasible applications of these results to policy design.